Join me as I take you on a journey beyond the background to discover how you can use this press plate in multiple ways. Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wiley here for Altenew. Thanks for joining me today. Today I am sharing two gorgeous fall-themed cards featuring some brand new products from the September 2025 release, and we're going to focus on this brand new Essential Textures fine wood grain press plate. Now, oftentimes we see something like this and we think of it only as a background, but today I'm going to show you how you can use it as a textural or even a shine element on your card projects. I'm starting out by placing this large press plate onto my Glimmer hot foil system with the platform heated, and I will be using the Altenew champagne hot foil. Once my platform is heated, I am going to press the timer button and allow that to run. Now, I will note that the press plate is a little bit larger than the platform of my Glimmer hot foil system. That's okay. But because this is such a large press plate, once it's run through the timer, I'm actually going to disengage the platform from the base, re-plug it in, and run the timer one more time to make sure that this large, solid press plate is plenty hot before I do my foiling. Once I've run it through a couple of times, I'm going to remove the platform from the base of the Glimmer hot foil system. I'm going to add my hot foil with the pretty side facing the pattern of my press plate. And then I'm going to add some smooth white cardstock on the top, along with the thin shim and the spacer pad, and I'm going to run that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. Once I've done that, I can remove the foil, the excess foil, and I have this beautiful foiled background. Now, I realize this is a lot as a background, but we're gonna actually take this and use it on some die cuts instead to add an element of texture and shine and kind of use the background in a different way. Now, while I'm doing my foiling, I went ahead and grabbed the Solid Sentiments Gratitude Edition here. This is brand new also from the September 2025 release from Altenew. These products will be available on September 16th, so keep your eye out. You're getting a sneak peek at a lot of the new products that will be available on release day. I'm going to follow the same process for foiling that I did before. I heated up my hot foil plate, or my press plate actually, on the Glimmer hot foil system. I took my platform over to my Platinum 6, added my foil and my cardstock along with my thin shim and my spacer pad, and I ran that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and I got perfect hot foiled results on all of these sentiments. Aren't those absolutely beautiful? And they're going to tie in with my backgrounds so well. So now I'm taking the brand new Crispy Leaves dies, also from the September release, not available yet, but they're coming soon. And I'm going to die cut several of these leaves from this fine wood grain background that I created. Now keep in mind, if you wanted to skip the element of shine, you could instead use the fine wood grain for a better press version or create an impression with your die cut machine in the cardstock. I'm taking my die cut pieces and adding them onto my 9x12 grip mat here so that I can ink blend them. Now, I could have created the fine wood grain background onto some colored cardstock, but I thought this was the easiest way to make multiple colors of elements from different die cuts with this fine wood grain texture. I'm starting out with a couple of colors from the Fall Harvest Fresh Dye ink set. I'm using Pumpkin Pie and Yellow Ochre, adding just a little bit of darkness towards the center. Then I'm moving to Nature's Wonder, where I am using the Misty Moor and the Marshland colors. But really what I want you to do is take another look at all of your large press plates that create all of these textures and your large background stamps and background dies, and think of how you can go beyond the background and use them as just textural or pressed elements on die cuts and other stamped elements. I think it's a fun way to kind of think outside of the box when it comes to our products. I finished off with my favorite fall fresh dye ink color combination, and that is Dusty Rose and Toasted Mauve. I think it's so pretty. And now I'm going to do some more die cutting. I'm taking the One Go Solid Sentiments coordinating die, lining that up with the foiled sentiments that I created earlier and running that through my die cut machine. And now I have several sentiment strips ready to go. I'm going to use a couple of them on my card projects today, but I'll have more to kind of tuck inside with the press plate to save for a future project. Next up, I'm grabbing the new nesting circles dies and I'm die cutting that from some vellum. That will be kind of the landing place for my leaves. And I decided to go ahead and create a background with this fine wood grain texture press plate as well. So I'm taking the Marshland cardstock here and I'm adhering it to the platen of my Better Press system. You can see I have the press plate on the platform or the chase of the Better Press system, and I'm going to ink it up with the Marshland ink so I get a tone-on-tone texture. I'm kind of using a swirling motion with my ink pad there to make sure I cover the entire area of the press plate that I need. Then I'm going to place the platen on the magnetic feet of the chase and run that through my Platinum 6 die cutting machine. This will press that ink and the texture into my cardstock. I'm going to add a little ink blending around the edges of this cardstock just to kind of intensify the edges and kind of create a softer transition from the edge to the fine wood grain texture on the cardstock. Now to adhere my leaves, I'm using the Instant Dimension foam tape. This is the 1/16 depth, so it is the standard depth that Altenew offers. I'm just removing the backers from each of the pieces that I placed on the back side of my leaves and positioning them onto my vellum circle here. I love a vellum circle because it kind of gives a landing place, but it doesn't take up too much visual space on the card. I also adhered my sentiment strip with some foam adhesive, and now I'm adding a couple more leaves and that vellum circle onto my card front using some foam adhesive. So once I have that all in place, I am in love with these leaves. They have that fine wood grain texture, they have various colors, and I think that they are so beautiful. This is my favorite Altenew color palette for fall. I mounted that card front onto some dark chocolate cardstock and then mounted the entire thing using foam adhesive onto a Marshland card base. You would not believe how many options I went through for card bases, but I landed on that tone-on-tone color combination. Now for card number 2, I pulled out the Versatile Greetings 3 die set. This is the holiday edition, but it has this really beautiful, grateful die here, and I'm going to use that. I'm die cutting it from that hot foiled fine wood grain background that we created. And this again will act as a textural element, this time on a die cut sentiment. I wanted to add some color, so I went back to my favorite color combination for fall, and that is the Woodland Escape Fresh Die inks. This includes the Dusty Rose and the Toasted Mauve. I'm starting out with Dusty Rose over the entire area of this grateful die cut sentiment. And then I'm going to come in at the base and add some Toasted Mauve to add some shading. Now, as you're ink blending over this foiled texture, it doesn't make a difference. The foil really resists it like an embossing powder would, so it's totally fine to blend over the top of your foiled elements, and you can just wipe them down when you're done to remove any excess ink that's sitting on top of the foil. You could also instead just make an impression with this press plate and do some ink blending over the top of that, or even use your Better Press system to press this into the cardstock and do some ink blending over that impression as well. Now I did die cut 3 additional layers of that grateful greeting from some plain white cardstock, and I'm using some liquid glue to stack up these sentiments so that I get a little bit of dimension and a little bit of weight to this, because it is going to be one of the main focal elements on my card front. And once I have those layers stacked behind my ink blended and foiled layer, I'm going to add this onto the vellum shadow layer, again using some liquid glue to position that. I really like to use liquid glue for instances like this because it allows me a little bit of wiggle room to get things into the exact right position to make sure that I'm happy in the long run. Now, once I had that all stacked up, I added a clear acrylic block over the top to allow that to dry. And I'm going to do some stamping onto an ivory card panel using the stamp set from the brand new Craft Your Life Sweet Harvest kit. It is so beautiful. It has so many elements like a pie and this beautiful apple set. There's some coordinating dies available to go along that you can add on to the Craft Your Life kit. But for now, I am going to grab the stamp set and I'm inking up with some Altenew embossing ink. You can see I'm using my Stamp Wheel 2.0 to make sure that I get perfect positioning onto this panel that I have on my card front. I did go ahead and treat the surface of this ivory card front with some embossing powder, anti-static embossing powder, so that I wouldn't get embossing powder anywhere I didn't want it. And now I'm sprinkling on some gold embossing powder over the top of that embossing ink. I'm kind of wiggling it to make sure that it covers that embossing ink completely. I'll tap off the excess and then I'll go ahead and heat set this. Now, this Craft Your Life Sweet Harvest kit also comes with a stencil set that coordinates with the stamp set, but it also has these two elements that are so much fun, some textures and some lines that you can use, and that is included in the stencil set that coordinates with this beautiful apple stamp set. I'm going to just use the coordinating apple stencils today. I'm positioning them where I want them, and I'm ink blending them using the same colors that I used before. Now, I am going to show you this first apple, even though I didn't love it. I used Dusty Rose and some Toasted Mauve, and it got brown way too fast. And so on my other apple, I'm just going to use some Dusty Rose, and I'm going to use that same color ink, some Dusty Rose, just to do a little shading around the outside, and I'm allowing it to kind of lighten up towards the center of the apple. I'm not going to show you all of the ink blending for this apple set. You get the idea, but I am just using the same colors that I used on the leaves before so that everything ties together really nicely. And I'm creating some shading, some darks and some lights. And there you can see I have my beautiful apple scene here on that front of that ivory cardstock. Now, in order to kind of disguise the apple that I did not love so much, I decided to put my sentiment on a vertical, kind of covering that up, but I also thought it was just a fun way to add the sentiment to my card front. Now, for the card base, I blended some of the Dusty Rose ink onto an A2 size card base towards the edges. And now I'm adding this to the platen of my Better Press system so that I can press that fine wood grain press plate onto my card front. I'm just using, again, some tone on tone. So some Dusty Rose ink on top of the Dusty Rose blending. And that just gives the card base a little bit of interest. I matted the stamped panel onto a piece of dark chocolate cardstock. I'm adding my sentiment pieces on with some instant dimension foam tape, again, at a vertical because I just thought it was a fun way to do it. And also it helped kind of disguise my first little trial apple that I did not love so much. I'm going to take this entire card front and add it onto my pressed card base using some foam adhesive, and I'm going to finish this off with some of the Dessert Dreams Altenew enamel dots. I'm using my Perfect Picker tool to position these. I thought these blended in so well, and you can see I'm getting one that just is really stubborn and wants to stick to my finger, but in the end, we got it where it needed to go. So here's a look at card number 2. You can see that beautiful fine wood grain texture on the sentiment there. And then also the beautiful wood grain texture in the background of these cards. So when you see something that is a background, look at it in a new way and think about how you can use it as texture or shine on stamped or die cut elements on your card project. I think it's fun to go beyond the background and stretch our supplies and use them in new ways. Now, as always, I'll have links to the featured products used in these projects in the YouTube description below. So if you're looking for something in particular, be sure you check there. Keep in mind that many of the elements that I used today are brand new products that will be available on September 16th in the Altenew shop. So you may have to wait, but mark your calendars because it's coming soon. As always, I want to say thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me today. Leave me a comment below. Let me know which of these two card projects is your favorite. I can't wait to hear. I love the apples, but I also really love these leaves, and I don't think I can decide on my own. So you need to let me know your vote below. Before you leave today, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications by hitting that bell icon so that you don't miss any of the fabulous paper crafting and card making video tutorials shared here. Thanks again for watching. I'm so glad you're here. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.
Wait, we have more where that came from. If you're after fabulous card making tutorials, you are definitely in the right spot. Our amazing design team create and upload fabulous video tutorials right to this YouTube channel. If you don't want to miss another amazing crafting tutorial, don't forget to subscribe and click that fun red button that you can see. Let's become paper crafting experts together.